Uganda is among the countries that have tested the wrath of drought, desert locusts, armyworms that have destroyed a number of plantations. Not only Uganda, many other countries within the IGAD member states. But of course, away from that, the effects are that over 40 million people are now in need of humanitarian aid. And as a result of that, the second steering committee of the IGAD member states has been meeting in Entebbe to discuss a number of measures to curb down the vice, and recommendations have been made. But of course, to give us pointers of the whole discussion is the director for Climate Prediction and Application Center this beautiful morning, Glade Atten, to just paint for us a picture of what the whole discussion entailed. And thank you very much for joining me on NTV.
Thank you very much for having me.
You have had 4 days of discussion in Entebbe, and you are talking about mitigation measures to curb down drought, the armyworms. We also had the desert locusts within the region. What exactly prompted this, and what have been the pointers of the meeting?
Thank you very much. As you might know, on 2020, early 2020, actually late 2019, we had an outbreak of desert locusts in this region that was unprecedented, that covered all the way to Tanzania, from Sudan to Tanzania. And that outbreak, the problem was that it wasn't under control till after 3 years. And that was due to the lack of coordination, capacity, and a lot of things. So what we are trying to do is that now is that doesn't happen. We have to learn from that. We're basically we have created a platform where all the organizations that are involved on controlling these migratory pests, not only.
We had them in Uganda. Did you see more other countries that were affected during that time?
Uganda actually was the least affected. This started actually in Yemen. The infestation didn't happen here in Saudi Arabia. It happened in Saudi Arabia and in Yemen. And because of the war in Yemen, they jumped from the Red Sea to Eritrea and Djibouti, infesting Sudan, Ethiopia, Somalia, Kenya, Tanzania, South Sudan. Almost everybody saw the devastation effects of those swarms that could eat thousands and thousands of tons of vegetation in a day.
I understand over 40 million people are now in need of humanitarian aid as a result of drought, conflicts, desert locusts, and pests. How do you think this is a way to go, and you can address that? And Uganda is part.
This region actually were under a severe drought on the eastern side of the region, with 23 million due to drought. Overall, you are right, it's around 47. For the last count, 47 million of our citizens who are in need of humanitarian aid at this moment. This region, and what we are doing here is actually, as I said, is building resilience. We need to build resilience. Drought, migratory pest infestation shouldn't turn to disaster. So what we're trying to do is that at IGAD, we're giving platform to everybody. We're trying to coordinate, and we're trying to learn from past experience. When the first infestation happened, the need was only for $2 million for control. It took almost $1 billion and thousands of lives that have been endangered to control it. Imagine. So if there was a coordination mechanism and a region that was ready for it, that wouldn't have happened.
So through your meeting, I attended and you signed a memorandum with the Ministry of Agriculture. What really is entailed in the memorandum? You can tell us.
Yes, actually the Ministry of Agriculture was witness to the signing of the memorandum. The memorandum was signed with the Desert Locust Control Organization, DCLO of East Africa. what that will entitle is it will give us a framework of cooperation between us and them. They are the organization that is tasked on controlling desert locusts. We are the organization that has the political powers of convening member countries, even at the summit level. So we're giving them our help on mobilizing the member countries. So this will provide us a framework of cooperation between us and them. We do the forecast, they do the controls. So it's basically a match of skills.
One of the challenges we had, I remember, I covered some of these desert locusts in one of the areas that they invaded, but there was no systematic, can I say, proper use of a pesticide that all the regions could have recommended for use. And through that, we had counterfeit medicines, or I can call them pesticides, that were being used, and partly in the resilience build-up efforts. Are you trying to look at that?
Absolutely. That's one of the recommendations from this meeting. We will build a database of recommended pesticides, and that will be basically shared with member countries. And for the next infestation, we know what pesticides are approved, sources, and everything. And mostly we're going for biodegradable pesticides.
In Uganda, we've just left the dry season, and now it has started to rain, and we can now evidently tell that if there is a challenge, a problem with Uganda's maybe crops, can I say plantations, it will affect some other countries that feed directly from Uganda. For example, we export maize from Uganda to Kenya and the rest of others. How are you going to deal with the surveillance to make sure that as soon as there is an outbreak, it is in your know, you notice, and you're able to respond on time?
There is a good surveillance system in member countries. On this meeting, all the member countries were represented. So unfortunately, Uganda is not a source of desert locust infestation. It comes. So the source are in other countries, like in Somalia, Sudan, Eritrea, and Yemen. So we know that for this season, there will not be an outbreak. So you can rest assured that you will not see a desert locust infestation this season.
In the recommendations that you have made, actually surveillance and also making sure that you have research on maybe there would be areas that are affected. But Tanzania is not part of the IGAD countries, and yet the problem that it is like Tanzania may face can be a shared problem to this country. How are you going to make sure that in a part of this capacity building, it is part?
Thank you very much. Tanzania is not part of IGAD, as you rightly said, but Tanzania is a member of DCLO. But also Tanzania is a member of the IGAD Climate Center, because we share the same climate. So we have mechanism of working with Tanzania. And hopefully Tanzania, IGAD can invite on one of their meetings where DCLOs discuss. So there are mechanisms where we can work through. And remember that Uganda, Kenya, South Sudan are part of the East African community, and Tanzania is. So there are a lot of ways of collaborating.
Well, for time reasons, Director, will leave it here, but thank you very much for making time to speak to us.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, Guled Atan is the Director for Climate Prediction and Application Center in IGAD, but of course he's been painting for us a picture of what the entire meeting entailed when they've had it in Entebbe. And we think that such engagements are better for countries that share a lot of common good, a lot of common experiences when it comes to thinking well for the people that they serve.